What's going on, everyone? We are back. We are ready to have some fun with this. Might be one of the highly most anticipated barrel picks that we have, at least for myself, and I think for everyone else joining as well. We have a lot of good friends on today, but this is gonna be a fun barrel pick with our good friends down in Sagamore Spirits. So even though I'm a Delaware guy, and I'll say that day in, day out, even though I'm a Delaware guy, I do consider Sagamore our home, let's call it our home whiskey company, because I'm an hour door from door, or as I tell a lot of people, if I hit my driver well, my golf driver, I can hit it about 300 yards right across the Maryland line. So Sagamore is definitely our home whiskey. So have a lot of fun tonight. We're going to have a blast picking out a single barrel. This is, we're going to actually have a lot of people on tonight, which will be fun as well. So let's bring on, I think, it's debatable between the bourbon van, but then also Stuff and Whiskey might be the coolest couple in Whiskey Tube. Let's bring on our good friends, Josh and Erin of Stuff and Whiskey. What's going on, Josh and Erin?
What's going on, Judge? I'm a little jealous you can get that driver out there 300 yards, man. I got to take some golf lessons from you after this. Talk about it.
Well, it's more like 250 with a really good roll on a hot day.
Yeah.
Oh man. So this is, how many picks have we done now? This is what, our third or fourth? I forget.
Well, if you count the 2 barrels that we picked at Turkey, this will be the 4th barrel we're picking together.
Yeah.
But our 3rd pick together,
Yeah.
I got to say, anybody that watches our channel knows how much Erin just champions the double oak dry from Sagamore.
I love it.
I adore the 8-year, and I adore the sherry finish, personally speaking, and the port is very good as well. I just like the sherry more. I'm looking at these. We'll get into it when we get into the thing, but I mean, if you guys can just see the color.
They're beautiful.
I know.
They are.
Isn't it beautiful?
Dark.
Josh is so excited.
I cannot wait.
Like a kid in the candy shop. I love it, Josh. I love it. That's awesome. All right. Well, let's bring on, speaking of Sagamore, I mean, so Tim represents the brand of Sagamore. Let's go ahead and bring on our buddy, good friend, Tim from Sagamore Spirits. Tim, welcome, sir. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Judge?
Good, good. Thanks for, honestly, thanks for making all this happen, Tim. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks for reaching out. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. All right, well, let's go ahead and bring on some of our good friends also. Let's bring on the man, the myth, the legend behind SharePour. So fun story behind the single barrel. I reached out to Josh and Erin. We've collaborated, as I mentioned earlier, on a few different barrels. And then we reached out to SharePour, and Jay was like, hey, not only do, yes, you guys can go ahead and do a single barrel. He's like, but I want in also. He's like, I love this whiskey. He's like, so let's make it happen and do a trifecta, if you will. So let's go ahead and bring on the man, the myth, the legend behind SharePour, Jay West.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, some whiskey's too good to be left in the bleachers, so I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely, indeed, for sure. Well, we definitely appreciate you joining forces with us, Jay. This is it's gonna be a fun one. We got a lot of great whiskey here, so and I'm quite thirsty, so this should be a blast. All right. Let's bring on, so we have some of our friends out there coming in from the great state of Texas, which, I mean, gosh, everything's bigger and better in Texas. Let's go ahead and bring on our good friends, Kim and Mark.
Hey there. Everything's hotter in Texas.
Hey, Kim. What's going on, Kim and Mark? How are you guys?
Good. How are y'all?
Doing good.
Good. Doing well. We are all ready to sip some great whiskey. So we have to bring on our last special guest coming from North Carolina, from our respective whiskey communities, our good friend Anthony Spencer.
Hi, guys.
What's going on, Anthony? How are you, sir?
Great. Thirsty.
Yes, indeed. Well, this is, I mean, honestly, really excited. Thank you again for everyone on, who joined today, who's obviously watching the live stream, as well as everyone, who joined as a special guest. Really excited about this. I have all the respect in the world. I'll just say for a couple different groups here. Number one, for our SharePour partner, Jay's been great to work with. So thank you, Jay, again. Honestly, really do appreciate it. Also want to say huge thank you to Stuff and Whiskey. For me, as a fellow whiskey tuber, I would say one of the reasons why I started to expand this year and started to kind of just grow as as an individual was making sure I always kind of work with different people, and Erin and Josh are just such great partners to work with. So super happy to have them as part of like the Whiskey Tube community, and I've learned so much from the two of you guys. So thank you guys as well. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you, Judge. I mean, good whiskey's good, but good whiskey with good friends is even better. So,
Indeed,
Well said.
indeed,
Well said.
absolutely, so true. And I'll say Kim, Mark, and Anthony, thank you guys also for joining. So we have Kim and Mark representing our lovely Stuff and Whiskey family, and Anthony representing the Judge family. So thank you all for joining also. Appreciate it. All
Thanks
right.
for having us.
And last but not least, the man, the myth, the legend, Tim from Sagamore. So Tim, before we get started, maybe if you can just kind of open it up before we start sipping this whiskey and just tell everyone your role over at Sagamore.
Certainly not the man, the myth, the legend, but I appreciate the kind sentiments. But Tim Shustag, I'm the director of sales for the Northeast. So Maryland, kind of north, every market that's not a control market. Been with Sagamore for December will be five years. So it's been fun to see kind of where we're going and kind of forward thinking as a brand, and we make some good whiskey along the way as well. So
awesome. That's cool. It's awesome. Thanks, Tim. Thanks for that. All right. So I think we're ready to dive in. So we have 4 different barrels that we're looking at today. So I think we're going to be starting with barrel number 83-15. 8315. So let's get into it, folks. Got my little Delaware Bourbon Society glass here.
And I think this might be interesting if while we're kind of nosing this and getting our bearings about us, Tim, we have a kind of a printout that Marcus gave us of the like the labels and the high rye versus the low rye content that goes in these blends. Is that something that you could kind of fill everybody watching in on a little bit? Because it's one of the more unique things that you guys do, I think.
Yes, certainly. So everything we do at Sagamore is a double rye mash bill blend. We use a standard 95.5 blended with a 52 rye, 43 corn balanced malted barley. Each one of those mash bills are cooked, fermented, distilled, aged separately for a minimum of 4 years, and then blended together kind of in the bottle to a profile. What we're doing is selecting what we call a barrel select, a little bit different than a true single barrel. It's a single barrel of our 8-year-old high rye blended with a 7-year-old of the mid rye. So as you guys know, you can only be as old as your youngest whiskey. So that's kind of where we are. These are proofed down to 110. So what you're tasting is exactly how the barrel is going to come and how you're going to receive the bottles, unless you were to leave it and not take it for another year, which I don't think is the case. So you're picking this as close to what you're going to get to as the finished product. You're also looking at to kind of whether they be NBs on there, which is North Point, or NP, which is we have 3 rick houses throughout our project. 2 of those are relatively large. One holds about 40,000. The other one will have the capacity to hold 20,000. So you're tasting barrels that are likely filled around the same time and within the same rick houses, sometimes potentially even the same row and the same floor too.
Oh, wow. Okay. Very cool. So what's everyone getting on the nose on 83-15?
The first thing that stood out to me was just the richness and the syrupiness of it. Like sometimes you go into something and you just notes start jumping out at you. Yep. And then sometimes it falls way more in the experience camp for me. And I'm a really big experience guy. And I haven't even started to try to get notes. I'm just smelling this thing and loving it.
Yeah. Ooh.
Super
I find like with Sagamore, there's always like a lot of hidden fruit in the background. And I'm not sure if it's because of the mash bill blend, which is what Tim mentioned earlier, which I love, by the way. I love how they blend the 2 different together. But I love the fruit that comes out a lot of times in Sagamore. And this one is right there as well. Tons, to me at least, tons of like raspberries, and even like some blackberries in there as well.
I kind of get a dried plum kind of real light, real faint.
Okay. I like that, Anthony.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with Anthony there. It's like almost like, you go to the store and you get the is it like the dehydrated fruit? Like the like that.
Dried
it's like
fruit?
it's like it's like a dried fruit. It's a really, really pleasant note.
Yes.
It's nice. What are you thinking, Jay? What's speaking to you?
It's really nice. It's got like that very crisp herbal note that I get in a lot of the Sagamores. But yeah, totally like a stewed fruit, like a plum, like a candied ginger. Kind of reminds me like it has the pop of acidity like you'd get from like craisins, which is kind of funny. But like everyone's mom's like, I made a salad with craisins, but like the craisin note totally pops. Like it does have a lot of that berry fruit, which I enjoy. Really nice.
Indeed. Yeah. Oh, this is nice. Kim, Mark, what's speaking to you guys? Anything jumping out from the news?
So I agree with what you all have said, but also a little bit of perfuminess.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see that too. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that note is I wrote down like Hallmark rye. Like there's that.
Yeah.
I think that's what Jay was kind of alluding to as well. It's just like that Hallmark kind of. It's not herbaceous. Perfumey might be the better way to express it, but it's not. That's the type of thing that goes really sideways for me real quick, and it's not sideways for me in this at all.
No. It does have like a floral, it's kind of a note to it, I think, which is what Kim's mentioning. And I totally would agree with that for sure. We're going to do our best, Bourbon Engineer. Don't worry. I've already cheated. I've already sipped a little bit. I'm sorry I couldn't wait. But
I'm sorry.
cheers, everyone. It was a long day. I couldn't wait.
Judge, you know how I do my picks. I've already tasted them all.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, see, that's the reason why I love Erin. See, she's always there with me.
She's not playing by the rules.
She doesn't. I love that. That's a good thing. All right, Erin. So since you've already had some, what are your thoughts on like the palate?
I will say the first one is not my favorite.
Okay.
But I've had the other ones, so I'm not going to disclose anymore.
Oh, I love it. Erin, you are quite funny. One thing I love about Erin, she is very consistent. Whenever we do a barrel pick, she's always had them all. She has it in her mind, kind of, she has her boxes checked and everything. I love that. That's so cool. But you know what's funny? The thing that stands out to me is actually what Kim said. Even though it has like plums and blackberries kind of a note, like a fruity kind of a note, it's very floral and has almost like a perfume floral kind of a note. So I'm picking up what you're putting down there, Kim. I like that.
And on the nose, I get the caramel, but I get a hint of that in the palate, but it's so balanced.
Yeah.
That's what's
It
like.
is.
Everything's balanced. No one thing is taking the lead. There's a balance. I like that.
Absolutely.
Dude, I'm really impressed with Jay's candied ginger note because that's 1,000% on there, and that is like I would not have identified that without him dropping that, but that's on there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely zesty.
It is. So I have a question for Tim. Tim, I know you guys, it sounds
Yes.
like the 80-20 rule is in effect. Does that ever vary with the single barrel select? Like, do you ever do like a 70-30, for example, or no?
I don't necessarily think it's going to be that drastic of a change. I think as a guideline, it's always around that 80-20 because we're blending to kind of a profile. There's always going to be a plus or minus off of that. I don't think it's just a hard line in the sand at 80-20. Nor do I think it's as drastic as 70-30.
Got it. Okay. That's fair. Completely fair.
One thing I really like is the spice at the end. The finish is long and it has a nice rye spice on it. I really like that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I would say that the finish on it is it's not like just ripping your palate apart on the back end. It's sustaining at like this nice, like even kind of like it's kind of dangerous, to be honest with you, in that regard.
It
like
is.
Yeah, I would
totally
agree with
that.
having tasted through a lot of barrel picks that we've done. I find that this proof point is really kind of sneaky scary. You can feel it. It's not overwhelmed. I think it drinks a lot lighter than the 110 proof. And I forget who said it, but balanced. I think there's like a really underlining balance in kind of all of the whiskeys that we do that I really like about what we're doing. Now you're going to get some of that changes with some of the different barrels. It's a little more irregular, but there's a commonality of a really nice balance that at this 110 proof point that kind of really works well.
Indeed. Yeah, it's Sagamore. You're absolutely right. It's definitely something that is. I always love like your single barrels because they can truly get you get you in trouble, honestly. Because it's just like to Josh's point, it goes down so elegant and it's bold and vibrant, but it stays like for a long time in the palate, and it's has a little bit of like sweetness to it, offset by the spiciness, like the coming from the rye, of course. To Anthony's point, that is almost like the perfect pour in many ways. So it's so good. It really is. Wow. All right.
Elegant.
This is good.
Judge, I was going to say elegant is a very good word, and we'll see how these other ones compare, of course. But elegant is such a good word because, like you said, it's like people who don't love really high proof stuff. You're still getting a great concentration of flavor, and then people who are a little leery about higher proof stuff, it has that balance. To Tim's point, that it really makes it just beautifully sipping.
Indeed, absolutely. Yeah, I know. Great point. Awesome. This is good. I know. I know Erin's ready to move on to the next one. And cheers, Jason. Appreciate you jumping in today, man. Good to see you, brother. Right back at you, my friend.
One last thing. I smoke cigars, and I really like the Maduro leaf. This would pair well with most any cigar I have. It really would.
That's a great point, Anthony. That's a really good point, actually. It really is. That's a great point. So true. And there definitely are a good number of cigar smokers out there for sure, myself included. All right. Is everyone ready to move on to lovely 124?
Totally.
Looking good. Seeing some nods.
Yes.
Good to go here.
All right. Let's go. Let's do it. Cleanse this palate real quick. Oh. Ooh, this is different.
Yeah, we're shifting gears here for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think, Josh? What kind of stands out to you?
Syrup.
Well, Kim, what were you saying?
I was going to say, you said syrupy on the last one. I get more syrupy on this one.
Yeah, I could get almost like this is a little bit of self-disclosure here, but like if I'm going to have waffles, there's a whole lot of butter and a whole lot of syrup involved. Like, I mean, it's just, I'm gonna fully indulge. This has a little bit of that syrupy note. It's, to me, a little bit more like just like a Belgian waffle. I'm getting kind of like a Belgian waffly type of thing on it.
I think that's the only way to eat waffles.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So true.
Tim, what is the low rye batch? What are the percentages on that?
52 rye, 43 corn, balanced malted barley.
Okay, I think I'm getting the corn is like making itself more known on this one versus like the first one was a little bit more like a really elegant take on a rye. This one is coming through because I was like, am I crazy? Like this is like I'm getting some corn sweetness on this, and it's
definitely some.
And that's always the constant. Like that's always going to be the rye mash bill blends. It's just that kind of roughly that 80-20 that's going to potentially differ, but that's the constant.
Yeah,
which is fun to do to kind of do these tastings because you see kind of different notes how they jump out of the glass from barrel to barrel for sure.
Yeah,
indeed.
definitely.
Yeah, the corn. You're right. There's a lot more caramel in this one, kind of popping out. Where the last one had like the berries note and like the to Kim's point, like very floralish, if you will. But this has a lot more of like caramel, a lot more honestly, more traditional bourbon notes in many ways.
Mm-hmm. On the nose, I get some type of baking bread almost. To me,
okay.
I mean, it's pleasant, but it's different.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't get well, I've already took a sip because I was thirsty, but I don't get that. I really love rye. And so I love the rye spice. The hotter, the better for me. And so for me, that's what's missing.
Okay.
That long, the finish is not as long. It's not as deep, not as elegant. It's a sweeter, it's that Belgian waffle with a lot of syrup. It's still good, but I
Yeah.
like one better so far.
It's funny you say that because, like, I feel like the finish on this one, because Josh, you were saying the finish on the last one was pretty long. This one to me is a little bit quicker. It's more of a quicker type of an experience,
Definitely.
right? Yeah. Mm.
The mouthfeel isn't quite as nice as the first one either.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree with you, Kim.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with. I would agree with all of that. The finish is kind of sneaky, like it lingers around, but it's a little bit more faint for sure. You get that pop. You get that pop of sweetness up front, like that caramel corn type of sweetness right up front, and it kind of just tapers off. And I think I'm with Anthony here. Is it's lacking the, I don't know what you want to say, like the pizzazz that the first glass had to me.
Yeah. Yep. I completely agree. Absolutely. All right.
Every aspect of the tasting on the palate for the first one gave you a great individual experience. You know, so at the back of the palate, it was that long finish, that rye spice. You had the sweetness up front. This doesn't give me that.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's not bad, but it's just not as good as one to me.
I hear that. No, absolutely. Jay, what are your thoughts between the two? Which one's like, where do you kind of lean thus far? I mean, I know we're kind of early on so far, but what's kind of like your lean thus far?
Yeah, I mean, the second one is really interesting. Like, it has a lot of things I like. Like, it has kind of a big Luxardo note on the nose, but it's also a little barnyardy, a little bready, like rising bread. It's got a little like Angostura bitter, which is kind of fun, like that kind of balsamic acidity. But it is kind of malty, and I noticed that the finish is really short, which isn't always such a bad thing. But the first one was really decadent in comparison, and like it's kind of hard to. Like, yeah, you never forget your first. Like, that one really drank well, and I'm sure like it's always good to come back at the end of the night and see if the first one does reign supreme. But between the two, I think I definitely favor the first. Although I like the unique kind of off profileness of the second sample, but I'm not a big fan of like big malty bready ryes, and that barnyard note kind of reminds me of some like interesting wines I've had lately that really haven't really scratched that itch for me.
Okay. I love that. I love that. That barnyard is that's a great description. I like that one. Yeah. It is. It's a really good idea. Good point. All right. 1, 2, 4. Interesting. So Erin, I gotta know, what are your thoughts on 1, 2, 4?
I liked it. I'm not getting the barnyard note, which I got the barnyard note on glass 1.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I feel like I'm the opposite of what everyone said here.
That's all right. Nothing wrong with that at all. Hey, we're picking between great and even better. So it's nothing wrong with that at all, Erin. That's good stuff. I love it. All right. So we have 2 more that we can come back and rank and vote and all that kind of good jazz. I'm personally ready to move on, but I want to make sure if everyone else is good also to move on.
Good here.
Yes.
Good. All right. Awesome. So we're moving over to 146-15. 146-15. Wow. All right. This will be an interesting one. Doc, you are lucky to live only 20 minutes from Sagamore. I'm actually thankful, honestly, in many ways, that I don't live 20 minutes from Sagamore, because I might be at Sagamore too much where Tim would be like, you know what? There's no way I'm doing a barrel pick with that guy, Bourbon Judge. Like, stuff and whiskey, do it by yourself. I can't see that guy anymore. So I'm actually thankful I don't live closer. I might pull the little bed and a little tent and live outside. So
come on down.
Wow.
This is different too. Wow.
Yeah, it is.
The nose
really
is
nice.
inviting on this. Wow.
Oh my God.
Would you say, Anthony, the nose is what?
It's very inviting. It's pleasant.
Inviting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
The nose on this is doing something that, again, I'm definitely more of an experience than a notes guy, but the nose on this is like, I don't want to be hyperbolic, okay?
Yeah.
For a 110 proof rye, the nose is kind of immense. Like, it seems like it's bigger than the glass that it's in.
Yeah. Oh man.
It's a very good nose.
This is a really good nose. This is really nice.
I hope the palate.
Everything on the first and second one has been dialed in as far as it relates to the nose on this one.
Indeed.
It is.
Yeah. Kim and Mark, what do you guys think so far of the nose on 1, 2, 4? Right? Yeah. I'm sorry, 146. 146.
Go ahead.
No, it's great. It's just like Josh said. It's very big. It's very bold. Yeah, this is probably my favorite nose so far.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed, this really is. Wow. Man, it's like sometimes when you have a nose that's just so vibrant like this, you're praying and hoping that the palate and finish is like equal, right? Because it's like it's built up like so much moment, you know. Oh man, this is really nice.
I'm even getting as I continue to nose it, I've got that big. It's almost like this. The imagery it's putting in my head is like a cotton candy on a stick, but like the cotton candy is made out of caramel. Like it's just really big like that. But then as I spend a little bit more time with it and kind of really pick through it, I'm getting this incredibly pleasant peppermint note underneath everything that hints at it being a rye. And I don't know. I love that balance of those two together.
Yeah, totally. I completely agree with you on that one.
Oh, and
Maple syrup, minted maple syrup. It's what it smells like. The nose is pleasant, very pleasant.
It's like the apple, like apple kind of dipped in caramel, kind of a note in a way, with a little bit of mint.
Red apple, yeah,
the red apple. Yeah, this is nice. Oh goodness gracious! All right,
I'll put some of this on.
What are you wearing? That's just a little Sagamore.
Just one.
Ode to Sagamore.
Nose
Just
of Sagamore.
146.
All right, might as well go in for it. Oh wow, that's wow. Whew.
It's always fun to do barrel picks, especially And what are you picking? What are you looking for? Are you looking for something that's completely different than our standard offerings, or you want something that's kind of like true to our stylistic as a brand, that may be something different that maybe you won't find in our everyday finishes or our double oak or cast strength? So it's always fun to see the taste with other people, to see what they're looking for and kind of what it is about this barrel that you're going to pick that you really like, that's either in line with our brand or completely different.
Yeah, I'll turn over to Josh. I'll say, and Erin as well. For me personally, I always love when I do a barrel pick. I think it's nice to have, honestly, a combination of all three. Something that's like number one, like something that's kind of core to your brand, but also probably more important, it's so unique where it's like, it kind of takes the brand, but then it just kind of like, almost expands the brand, and like your previous whiskey experiences, like in this case with Sagamore, to like a different level. So it's kind of number three, kind of bringing them all together to make it just like such a unique, great experience. But then you're like, wow, that's Sagamore, but it's Sagamore times 10 almost in a way. And that's what I personally get thus far. I hate having to say it, but this is pretty damn special. This one's really good.
It's different from any of the Sagamores I've had. It's different. It's like you've taken your brand and you dialed in something that's just, it has the base, or the base of what Sagamore is, but it's so much more, and it's all in this. If that makes any sense.
No, it does indeed. Absolutely, Anthony.
This is wow.
Josh, Erin, what do you guys think about, like, when you're doing a barrel pick? Like, what are some like unique things or aspects of a whiskey over a single barrel? They're like, you know what, this is really important to me.
So Erin's answer should be interesting. I'll let her go first. Ladies first.
Why should it be interesting?
Just the way that you do tastings when you're comparing things together.
Oh.
Like you just kind of, if people have been watching, like you just kind of rifle through and you do a very comparative tasting, and then you'll come back around and talk about what you like or don't like, but you're not even really thinking about that. Yeah. You're really just kind of tasting and seeing what hits you the right way.
What I like. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think about the majority of people's palates. And then overall, I want to take like the kind of what you said, Judge, like the profile of the brand and then some, like an extension of that, but also kind of like with some pizzazz. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And I think for me, when I'm looking for a barrel pick, the primary thing that calls out to me in any glass that I really love and go back to over and over again is this. I mean, I've said it before on here, but like I'm an experienced guy, so I'm looking for like this saturation of flavor that separates a really good single barrel from the stuff that sits on the shelves. And there's plenty of stuff that sits on the shelves that I really love. So I'm not trying to down any of that or throw shade or anything, but
correct.
When you get a really good single barrel, it's just like there's this saturation to it. It's almost like if you're editing a photo and you can just crank the saturation up, but it's on the flavor. And you know, I love that so much. And I'm just sitting around waiting for a glass to speak to me in that way, or in which I actually do think glass 3 here has that saturation. Like it's saturated, it's sticky.
Correct.
And I love that.
Like that.
But the issue here is you get a glass like glass 1 that's just very elegant and it feels very elevated, which is also something that you kind of don't get on a lot of things that sit on the shelf. So I've got a juxtaposition of the two things that I like the most here between glass 1 and glass 3, personally speaking.
Okay.
But yeah,
that's fair. That's fair, Josh. No, that's good stuff. I like it. I like that sticky point as well, because I do get that, and it's like it definitely just like from a palate and a finish it's very it lasts so long. That's an interesting one for sure. Definitely very interesting. And thanks by the way, Mark. Jay, what about you? I mean, you've obviously probably did more single barrels than all of us put together. So what do you normally look for when you're doing a single barrel pick? Like, what's really important to you?
It's really important to me to, like, you guys have kind of said it before, and I agree. I like to consider the house profile, right? Like every producer has made stylistic choices that define kind of what most of their products taste like. And I think that it's, you know, there's a lot of groups who are like, we're going to pick the weirdest thing we can taste. Like, it doesn't have to be good. It just has to be the most different. And I don't necessarily agree with that. Like sometimes if I'm at a producer and I know we're taking like 10 barrels and one of them is super good, but super weird, that's cool. But like, ultimately, I do really like the producers put so much work into making this cool whiskey, and like the producers like make very clear choices to have a stylistic like house like kind of product. And so like, you know, if we can find what embodies like the spirit of that producer, but is bigger or is bolder or very specifically layers and things that I'm really enticed by. Like I love big jammy fruits. Like Luxardo was a note that just kind of always gets me, or like a blackberry reduction. Those kinds of things like always jump out at me, especially if they're drinking like bigger and bolder without being proofy or punishing. So that's kind of how I approach them. But, you know, I won't say that if the producer's like, hey, you picked a couple and we got this really weird guy, but we think it's super cool, then I'm like, all right, let's talk about that too. But, you know, my goal isn't to get in as far into left field as possible. Ultimately, like, this is a good opportunity, and like the producers are very good at letting us take these single barrels. Like, let's figure out like what puts them on the pedestal, as well as showing like this is the cream of the crop of kind of what they're doing in the house style. So that's kind of my like 10,000 foot approach. Like I stray from it, but this is really good stylistic Sagamore, and it's drinking really nice.
No, that's fair. I love that, Jay. Thanks for that overview and insight. Really appreciate it. Sean, thanks as well, also, sir. Really do appreciate you as well. Kim and Mark, when you, obviously, so you, Anthony, you guys are patrons, right, of both channels. When you guys are getting a single barrel, no matter if it's from, you know, Stuff and Whiskey or the Bourbon Judge or just a single barrel, even from a store, right, a great store that you go to often, what are you normally looking for? Like, are you looking for something that kind of aligns with, to Tim's point, you know, that kind of just defines like Sagamore, you know, to a T? Or do you guys say, you know what, hey, Kim, hey, Mark, let's get something that's a little bit, hopefully we're getting a barrel that's, you know, we're buying a barrel or a bottle that's completely different, right? What's really important to you guys when you're buying a bottle in a store or from, you know, a patron community like ours as well?
So my favorite is getting a bottle that embodies the distillery times like 100.
Yeah, definitely that big, bold, you know, an amplification of what that distillery is. Yeah, like Josh was saying, the big, bold richness, something different.
And when I look for a bottle, it's just like with Sagamore. I love everything they make. And so I still want to know that I'm drinking Sagamore. I want to taste it and say, yeah, it's Sagamore, but it's this as well. It's a new blend, but it has that base. And that's what I like. When I look for any bottle, I'm I'm brand loyal, taste loyal, but I like when they take something that's really good, keep it good, but put a twist on it to make it even better,
Sure.
but not just
Absolutely.
do something totally different. And
Indeed,
that's what I
yep.
like about number 3.
So true. I like that. That's well said, Anthony. Thank you for that. No, I think that's great. I think we're all kind of in the same zone, if you will, in terms of like, you know, our thoughts about the single barrel and the process and so forth. So that completely makes sense. All right. I think we're on to the last one, which is 14715. And this, to me, it might be the darkest. I don't know. I'm kind of looking at the color. It looks like it might be the darkest, which is interesting too. So 14715. This should be fun. All right, Erin, so you remained very calm and quiet throughout this entire experience, Erin. So I have to know from my good friend Erin, what are your thoughts thus far on 14715? Because I know you've already done your research. Erin is very detailed, which I love that.
This one to me is pretty drying.
Okay.
And I also, people were talking about the barnyard note. I think glass 2. I get that a little bit on this 4th one. On the flavor, I don't know the nose. The nose is good. The palate is a little bit drying to me though.
Okay. What about you, Anthony? What stands out for you in the nose on 147? Yeah, 147.
To me, the 147 is the 124, but better. Just better. I get the same notes, nose-wise.
Okay.
But
yeah,
this nose is better compared. It just has a bolder flavors, bold on the nose to me.
I gotcha. That kind of makes sense because Erin said it. She kind of gets that barnyard kind of experience. That makes sense also. I like that.
But it's very dry.
Okay. Very dry. This is interesting. I get like that cereal kind of a note in the nose. Yes. So you're right. To me, it does actually remind me of like almost like the big brother of 124 in a way. It really does.
Yeah, I think the way that the oak is coming through here is definitely on the drier side of the profile. So like if you're somebody that like to really like a dry champagne or a dry wine, it's coming through like that for me.
Yeah.
And not to say that it's bad by any means, because I do like those types of drinks when I'm in the right mood for those. And I would like this very much when I'm in the right mood for it. It's not the thing I reach for all the time. It's the thing I reach for some of the times. You know, it's like 20% of the time I want this. And when I want
20%
this,
of the time, it's right every time.
Right. And when I, and like, this is all that will do. Like these other 3 won't do the 20% of the time I want this, but there is the other 80% of the time that I do gravitate towards. I do agree with Anthony. It is similar to glass 2. It does just, it's almost like somebody took glass 2, highlighted it, and, you know, command B and just made it bold.
Well, I think they took the sweetness out of glass 2.
It does. Yeah. It doesn't have that kind of like corn sweetness element. It's there in the background, not foreground. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yep. It's a little bit spicier, a little bit drier for sure. Number 4. It is similar to number 2 from like the bread, the that barnyard kind of a note that Jay kind of mentioned earlier. But it's definitely very dry for sure.
Yeah.
Very dry actually, which is interesting. Ooh. Kim and Mark, what do you guys think about number 4?
You know what? If I was judging on color, this one would win. I think it's just a beautiful color. It is like you guys said, it is a little bit drying. I still get a little bit of the perfumey, a little or candied ginger on the palate too.
Okay.
But yeah, it is similar to the what is it 124. But
indeed.
What do you think, Kim?
And the finish is no ways as pleasant to me as the other finishes.
Because it's drying, yeah.
The dry.
But on the front of the palate, I like it. Mid palate, I really like. I like the notes that come about. But yeah.
Yeah,
Finish
indeed.
is what kills it for me. Because I'm not a big wine drinker and I don't like champagne.
Yeah.
So,
Jay, what are your thoughts on number 4, Jay?
I'm in agreement. It has more of the things that I liked into. So like it is big. It has a lot of that blackberry, a lot of that balsamic. But that said, it is definitely a lot oakier and drier, which isn't really my tendency. And like I love dry reds like Tempranillo, and I love champagne that's dry and stuff.
Oh,
but
you do?
this has those don't have a tannic bitterness to them at all, and that's why I like them. Like it's not like a Cabernet, right, which is super heavy on tannin, like a Tempranillo or something like, are much more dry in structure, but low on tannin. And this to me has a lot of tannin to the point where I don't typically enjoy it. So I think that this is a bigger, bolder 124, and I think that is actually more of a con here than a pro. But the nose on it is just fucking fantastic. Like it's all syrupy fruits, and I think that that's really special. But the rest of it isn't quite for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one. Also, the nose. I think Mark also mentioned like the color. I mean, you're looking at the 4 of them. The color. This is just beautiful in the glass. But as soon as you sip it, it's so dry. It's like almost like a suction. From like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it just dries you up.
It does have that Cabernet effect, like where you can feel the moisture just like pull right out of your palate, and that's a not usually scratching the itch for me.
Yeah, same here. Terrence, I promise you, this is we're gonna make sure we get a great pick for our respective groups. So
the dryness takes away from everything else that it was bringing that was lovely about it. Yeah. For me, it just the dryness overpowered everything, and so yeah.
Indeed. All right. So how do you guys want to do this? You guys want to vote on a particular barrel number or sample number, or how do you guys want to do it? You guys,
I don't know. So for me, I don't have a standout winner. I have a top 2, which I could go either way on. So I don't know how you want to handle that.
No, I'm not.
All right.
I'm not too dissimilar. To piggyback on Erin, we may have a different top 2. I don't know how she's doing her stuff over here. It's a little atypical.
It's pretty.
Look, I spend most of my days trying to figure out what she's doing and why she's doing it. It's the greatest mystery of my life.
But Josh, to be clear, that's every husband and wife. Just to be very clear, right? Same goes for Mr. Judge and myself.
But I think if I'm picking up what everybody's putting down, I think we have a majority consensus of the bottom 2 barrels and a majority consensus of the top 2 barrels.
I don't know if we do of the majority.
I don't know if we do, Josh. I'm with Erin.
I think we have a majority bottom 1, but I don't think we have a majority bottom 2.
I don't know,
because I think people. I don't think we do.
I don't know. I think I'm hearing correctly, but she says I never listen. So,
all right. Well, let's do this. Why don't we go around? Let's vote. It might be the equal and most fair thing to do as well. And we'll do it, by individuals as well. So, Josh and Erin, you guys are 2 separate votes. To be clear, 2 completely separate votes. So,
because I am my own person.
Thankfully, we have an odd number here. I was so glad Mark is running in because it's like we might need the odd
tiebreaker. Yeah,
we do, absolutely. And let's start with our patrons. So let's go with Kim and Mark. I'll have you guys vote. You can vote for your favorite and then your second favorite or whatever works for you guys. Let's go with our favorite. How about we do that? Let's go with our favorites.
Well, I was going back and retasting and comparing. Okay. So I think my top 2 are 124 and 146.
All right, 124.
Which is obviously not Josh's top 2 based on that.
No, you surprised me a little bit.
It surprised me a little bit because when I had 124, I liked 83 better in that order.
Okay.
And
Kim, are you saying 124 and 146 are equal, or is 124 better than 146 in your opinion?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
All right, we'll come back to you while you do that.
Why don't you go?
Let's go to Mark. Let's go to Mark next.
Yeah, I don't know. Those are both good. Number 4, I would say, is a little drying. Number 1, I don't know, that perfume with the it was a little bit thinner, a little bit lighter, and the perfume kind of turned me off a little bit. So I would say
Okay.
probably 2 and 3 too.
2 and 3.
Between these two, I'm going back and forth also.
Okay.
Currently it's number 3, but
I'm leaning towards 146
Yeah.
after tasting them again.
Okay. All right. So Kim and Mark are leaning toward 146 as their favorite, but 124 is second place. Okay. That's fair. Thank you both. Mr. J. West. I'm sorry. No, we said patrons first. So Anthony, what are your top two?
The number 3, which is 146. That's my top one. And
you have a second place at all? Just in case we
a
need
second place, I would go with number 1.
Okay. Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. That was 83-15. Okay.
Correct.
Cool. 146, number 3 is your favorite, though. Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yes.
All right. Jay West, sir.
I think, my preference is I'm right here with Anthony. I really liked 146. I think that's easily the best sample on the table. But the Barnyard on 124 and the Tannin on 147 just weren't for me. And I did really like how stylistically, like, it was a very nosy rye. And in 83, I thought was really good. So that's going to be my second pick as well.
Oh, awesome. All right. So Anthony and Jay are in the same boat. We're riding toward victory. So we have 4. Okay. All right. And let's go to Josh and Erin.
Do you want to go?
Ladies first.
Okay. So I have a top 2, and if I have to pick a favorite of the top 2, I would say 124.
Okay.
And then my second would be 83. So
okay.
glass 2 and glass 1.
83. 2 and 1. 124.
Mhm.
Okay. And 83. And 124, you said Erin was your favorite over 83?
Yeah.
It was. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Correct.
All right. Josh, a good gentleman, by the way. Always smart. Always let the lady go first. Very nice of you. So you're next, Josh.
I mean, I gotta co-sign Anthony and Jay here. I think that 83, the first sample we tried, it is just lovely. And I see the perfuminess, and that perfumey note stands out more when you go back and don't start with it. It's still really good though, but it is decidedly a rye. But 146 has that saturated, sticky sweetness to it. It saturates the palate, and I mean, I think Jay said it perfectly. I think it's clearly the best sample of the 4 from an experience standpoint. I really, really enjoy 146, which was glass 3 for chat.
Okay. 146 and 83 as well. Perfect. Thank you, Josh. All right. So it does look like 146 is the primary one. I guess so. I think we have everyone's vote, so I'll vote last. So I agree with, I guess, Anthony, Jay, Josh, I guess, yeah, Kim also, and Mark. But yeah, so 146 and 83, I think, are equally, not equal. They are first and second place. I do think 146 is absolutely flat out ridiculously good. This is like a bottle where I don't buy a ton of, like, at least at the same time, like the same bottle, like over and over. This is one where I would go and just buy like a case, like just buy 6, because this is so damn special. Like, this is just literally, this is, to my opinion, on another level. This is insane good, like insane good. I'm shocked, honestly good. Wow. I mean, the nose, the palate, and the finish. This is amazing whiskey. So I'm very jealous that we have this to pick as an option. So if we're all in agreement, which it looks like we are from a voting standpoint, I think we're good with 14615.
All right.
Is that fair?
Sounds good.
That is some certified Manhattan material. I think
This
will be dropping right as I'm in Wisconsin. I don't know what your guys' weather's like, but this will be dropping right as things really get cold, which I think is going to be well timed as well for the profile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it as soon as it hit my palate the first time through, it had that saturation, and then you can get that sometimes, and then as subsequent sips, it tapers off.
Yeah.
And every time I've revisited it, it just continues to hit that level of saturation. that it's hard to achieve that, man. It's not something that you just run across every day.
Yep, it actually fixed my palate after 147.
Adjustment. I like that.
I like the Manhattan call out by Jay. It's
that was a good one.
It's already
it really is.
very similar. Pushing Manhattan-y just by itself.
It does really remind me of that Big Bitters and like Luxardo note.
It does. It's such a unique experience. This is like, I mean, whenever you can get whiskey that is like an experience in a bottle, that's something special. And I think that's what 146 is. It's very unique. Extremely.
Yeah, that's really nice.
I'm a sucker for a Black Manhattan. That's my kind of
146.
I dig that.
So, Tim, there's a question from Tim. And no, I have not drank that much whiskey where I'm going crazy. But will Sagamore eventually come out with a bourbon versus, obviously, of course, like the rye, of course?
So they don't like to tell the sales guys a lot of what's in R&D because we have a tendency to run our mouth. So, not that I know of, or should I say, not anytime soon. But I think it's something that could potentially be in the works. Not to my knowledge, though.
Awesome. I like that. No, that's fair. Got to keep the secrets just in case, just to be safe. Never know. That's fair. We appreciate it. And then Tim, so from a yield size, so obviously I know every barrel, and in this case, like the blend is obviously going to be very unique in terms of the number of bottles, but what's the typical yield on average, of course, not the exact number, obviously.
About 204 bottles.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. Very nice. And then last thing is, what about like turn time? Like Jay mentioned, which I completely agree, Jay. I'm thinking about just sitting outside, sipping this at 110 proof, which it sips like it's just, oh my gosh, this is so great. But to Anthony's point, enjoying the cigar in the Christmas, December-ish time, if you will. What's the typical turn time, like, over to Jay at Sherapur? Like roughly, not on average. I know everything's different.
I feel pretty confident we can definitely get this out before December. So if not, probably middle to end of October.
Oh gosh, that sounds so good. Oh,
yeah,
man.
this should, I would think, based on previous barrels, line up nicely with like a pre-Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Which I think will line up really great. Like this would actually be really good with a bunch of food. So
yeah, indeed. Oh
yeah, call this probably early November, I'd say, by the time all is said and done.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very
once
nice.
you guys just decide what we want to put on the batch label, I can kick it over to our production team, and I feel pretty comfortable we can make that happen.
Some kind of holiday release as a something, man.
Yeah. Pre-Thanksgiving, an early Thanksgiving in a bottle. No, no, we will definitely work on the barrel name, if you will. And Josh and Erin I'm going to call them the creative experts. They are extremely creative. So Josh and Erin, we'll have to connect offline, and maybe we'll get Anthony and Kim and Mark's feedback as well, because but you guys are extremely creative, which I love. So that's good stuff. So we'll have to figure that out. But no, this, as a early kind of Thanksgiving-ish kind of a bottle, oh gosh, I can't wait to have this. This is really, really nice. So, well, hey, to wrap it up, just want to say, number one, thanks again for everyone who joined and, listened to the live stream tonight. Really do appreciate it. Make sure you guys check out Stuff and Whiskey, the coolest, equally with the Bourbon Van, but the coolest couple in whiskey too, flat out. An amazing couple, just great people as well. Thank you to Jay from Sherapur for joining, for bringing this all come together. Again, Tim, we appreciate you, sir, for Sagamore. Thanks so much for representing the brand and sharing all of your insight and knowledge as it relates to Sagamore. And then to Kim, Mark, and Anthony, patrons, respectively, of Stuff and Whiskey, as well as the Bourbon Judge. Thank you guys for making time out of your night. I know you guys are obviously busy and have your day jobs and so forth. So we appreciate you sharing some good whiskey with us. And I think we did a fantastic job of selecting a barrel that's going to just, everyone's going to be just mesmerized by this great whiskey. So as we say in this whiskey world, cheers, everyone.
Cheers,
guys.
Thank you.
Cheers, all.
Cheers, everyone. See you guys.
See ya.
Oh, man. This is really